off with Vicario, 6s all round. I don't think he had any chance with both the goals, both brilliant finishes from Muniz and Sessegnon. Apart from that, dealt with everything that came his way. I think he was flapping at a few crosses, weren't he? When I think the last couple of games he's been quite confident in catching those, so that was a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, I don't remember flapping. I remember he punched one straight to Willian, but from outside the box. But I think that was a good punch, actually. I don't remember him flapping too many. He didn't have anything to do, let's be honest. He made one save from Castagna, which was an easy save. And that was it. It was a very quiet day for him, to be honest. Fulham really didn't have many chances in the game.
Jed Spence up next. Tim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6.
I was supposed to give him a 6, but anyway.
Both give him a 6 then. I think he was okay. Not his best performance, not his worst. It's probably close to one of his worst, to be honest, this season, because that's how good he's been. But I think nothing really got past him from a defensive capability for the majority of the game. I thought he defended quite well. Apart from the goal that we can see that he should have busted a gut to get back, and he didn't. In terms of offensive, I don't think he offered too much going forward.
Yeah, I think it was disappointing in the second goal for sure. I think he switched off, assuming Davis was going to win the challenge, wasn't thinking about the worst case scenario, and end up that Sessegnon bullied Davis for the goal. I think there are some moments where he did quite well, like dribbled well, travelled quite well on that right hand side, but want to see a bit more from him in the final third. Want to see get him to the byline, whipping some crosses in. Didn't really see enough of that, but I think overall wasn't a bad game, but we've seen better.
Next up is Cuti Romero. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Definitely our best outfield player on the day. I thought he was brilliant for the most part. Obviously only lasted an hour with Ange managing his minutes and everything like that. And and I thought particularly in the first half he was a reason why Fulham weren't able to create any sort of real chance on goal. I thought he was battering everything away. At times in that first half, it felt like it was pretty much the Fulham attack against Romero and Davis, and I think they more or less ended up on top in most actions, particularly in the first half.
Yeah, I thought he was great. It was so great to have him back on the pitch again from the start, and I think he's been really good since he's come back, apart from the Bournemouth game. I think by and large he's been really, really positive to see him back in the team, and I thought Jimenez couldn't get a kick. I think he was let down a bit with the fact that some of his passes into some of the Spurs players, they weren't really looking for the ball or protecting it well, and this passing on Thursday was created so many more opportunities, but unfortunately it didn't happen yesterday. But I thought defensively fantastic, and obviously the game really changed when he went off, and that's probably what cost us. So I thought he had a top game.
Ben Davis, we give him a 5 all round. There's positives and negatives in there from Ben. I felt first half, obviously, he had that swipe at it, which could have gone horribly wrong. Luckily, we didn't concede from it. And apart from that, in the first half, I thought he was really good, to be honest. Like I said before, it was like Fulham's attack against our defence, and I thought Ben Davis held up to scrutiny for, apart from that moment in the first half, for the majority of it. In the second half, obviously, he had his helping hand in both the goals we conceded. The most worrying was the one against Sessegnon, because Sessegnon just seemed to absolutely bully him, and very hard to watch that moment. And after a good performance, what I thought was a good performance, he let himself down massively on the 2 goals that we conceded. So he had a massive part to play in why we lost the game.
Yeah, and the only chance in the first half, it was his mistake as well. So I think really he made 3 really costly errors, which one of them didn't get punished and 2 of them did. I thought in the second half when Muniz came on, he started to really bully him, and he won those headers, which just allowed Fulham that momentum, allowed them to sustain some sort of attacks, which was really frustrating. He didn't really get close enough to Muniz as well. Sorry, not Muniz, it was Pereira in the box to lay it off to Muniz, didn't get close enough. And the second goal was embarrassing from him, let's be honest, really embarrassing. Got bullied by Sessegnon and allowed him to get the shot off where it should never be happening in that situation. He was favourite for that ball as well, just got shoved aside. Really, really poor from him. And we expect better in those situations. And the first half as well, he tries to cut out this cross when he doesn't need to, and it just gives it another chance to Fulham. But it wasn't all bad, because I think he did have a lot of good clearances, and I thought actually he was really dominating Jimenez in that first half. So wasn't all bad, but unfortunately his mistakes cost us.
Yeah, they were just telling moments, weren't they? Moving on to Destiny, Udogie. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Again, I thought it was a bit of an up and down display from Udogie. I thought he was doing really well in terms of winning possession back for the team. He had a few nice drives where he was showing a bit of good dynamic, his old dynamic self, really. But what I was getting frustrated with Udogie, as much as he won it back a lot, he gave the ball away a hell of a lot, and I thought his passing was really frustrating.
Yeah, I don't think it was a terrible game from him, but especially before Adama Traore came on, I thought he was doing all right down that left-hand side. A few times he was linking up well with Son, especially when Son came on, but I thought once Adama came on, he all of a sudden he was not the kind of same. I thought all of a sudden he wasn't getting up the pitch that much, and I think in the final third could have done a bit better. I thought defensively didn't have a big problem with him. His passing in the middle of the park was better in the second half for that little period we're on top, but in the first half, I think he struggled to really combine with Tel for a lot of it. So yeah, could have done better.
Next up is Rodrigo Bentancur. 5s all round for Bentancur, and he was tasked with being our most creative outlet in the middle of the park yesterday, and yeah, he just couldn't create for love nor money. I found it really frustrating. I thought he was weak in the challenges for the most part. I mean, I'm just reading the stats here. 1 ground duel, 1 out of 7. So he came off worse for the majority of it. There were a few moments in the game where he was quite combative and he looked up for it, but I just felt like it was a really up and down game from Bentancur. When it was bad, it was really bad. Yeah,
I felt second half he was a bit better. I think he was getting some really good interceptions. He was getting us on the front foot, and a lot of the good work we were doing in that second half was a lot of it was down to some of the good work he was doing in the middle. But I thought first half it was similar to Bissouma, but to not as bad an extent. He was just a passenger, wasn't really getting involved in enough duels and wasn't winning enough duels. And I thought it was a bit better in the second half, but that first half was really, really poor from him, and he's just been very up and down recently, Bentancur.
Bissouma up next. 3s all round for Biss. Another shocking display from Yves Bissouma. So lackadaisical, careless. I don't know how to keep explaining these Bissouma performances, because they are just nothing short of a joke at the moment, and I think it's too much of a detriment to the team to keep picking him, unfortunately. And there's 2 Premier League games in a row where he's had to be hauled off at half time. We do have Archie Gray now that's played in the 6. I know he didn't play in the 6 this game, but that's where he has been deployed the majority of the season. But now we've got other players. We've got Sarr there. We've got so many players that can play in these midfield positions. I generally don't want to see Bissouma anymore. Yeah, I think Bissouma seems just to be playing like a guy who seems to have kind of lost faith in him, in himself. Definitely lost a lot of confidence, lost faith in his position in the club and where he's at the moment. He seems to know he's on his way out. There's obviously a lot of rumours flying around about him being up for sale in the summer, all this kind of stuff, and it seems to be affecting him and getting to him. He seems to be letting games bypass him, not really getting involved in duels anymore, not really being combative or aggressive, and rightfully hauled off. I think second game in a row he's been hauled off at half-time in terms of when he started. So he's been in dreadful form, to be honest. After what I thought he wasn't having the worst season, but in the last since I can't remember if he had an injury, but last few months he's just been terrible, especially last month and whenever he's played. And I think at the moment he's nowhere near the team. Yeah. Archie Gray up next. 5s for Archie. First start for him in midfield, I think it was. He played the kind of anchor role in the 6, and I thought he was okay, to be honest. Like at times, a bit careless on the ball, maybe at times. I thought he did this really good block for Iwobi at one point in the game. But yeah, I don't think after that performance you can say that we really trust him in that position, because I don't think it was a great performance. But I do think he was better than Bissouma at Bentancur at times. Yeah, I thought he struggled, to be honest, with the physicality of the game. I thought a few times he had to get on the ball and make quicker decisions, and he dawdled and he got caught, and sometimes his passing wasn't quite there. He did seem to grow into it a bit. He did seem to grow into the game a little bit and sort of seem to get to grips with it, which is not a rare thing for Gray. It's happened a few times this season where he started badly but grows into it. And I thought he
seemed to get a foothold, especially in the second half, got a bit of foothold in the game. But then he moved to centre-back and started to struggle a bit, I thought, again, especially up against Muniz. So not a great day for Gray, but I want to see more of him in midfield. I think it's a weird one because he's been so long in defence. He needs to get back. He needs to get used to that midfield position again, especially playing in the Premier League. He needs to kind of get used to it. So I think we have to kind of be patient again with him.
Brennan Johnson up next. Sim gives him a 2. I gave him a 3. I'm not sure why I've given him an extra mark, to be honest, because he got hauled off at half-time once again. And how many times do we have to sit here and say it? When he's not scoring, he's impacting absolutely nothing on the pitch. And I can't remember one contribution at all that he had in those 45 minutes. He literally was a ghost.
He was terrible. I can't think of anything he did. Completely anonymous. Didn't really help out the fullback Spence. Didn't help out the strikers. Just Robinson had him on toast. To be honest, Robinson completely dominated that side. Robinson completely dominated that side. He had nothing during the game, and yeah, again, rightfully ruled off at half-time. I thought Tell will go into him in a minute, but he showed a lot more on the right than Johnson did. Just nothing, absolutely nothing to that performance.
Yeah, not really hard to show more than what Brennan Johnson did. But let's get on to Matisse Tell. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. It's definitely a step in the right direction, in my opinion, for Tell, because in the first half, there was that one moment, pretty much our only kind of moment in the game in the first 45 minutes, where he takes it past 2 or 3 men, and then obviously nothing came from it. But it was nice to see him actually driving at his man and taking on his man. Second half as well, moved over to the right at some point, and I didn't think he looked like overly dangerous, but he had a few moments again, having that shot which forced a save out of the keeper, and Solanke should have done a lot better. But yeah, I don't think it was a great performance or even a good performance by any stretch of the imagination, but there were a couple of moments in there maybe that we can take from and to improve on.
Yeah, I think it was better. I think it was better than what he's shown previously. Definitely looks a lot more comfortable on the wing. She looked a bit more confident at times. Was trying to take people on a bit more, was trying to run at people. Didn't always come off. A lot of time it didn't. One time it did in that first half, he created a really good opportunity, which he should have been doing a bit better with in terms of that ball across the face of goal. Solanke was in there, Johnson was in there. He could have found them with a better ball. Move over to the right-hand side in the second half, and I thought looked better than he did when he was on the left. Looked a bit more confident, had that shot with his left foot, really nice effort, which Werner had to save. And I thought he was linking up actually quite well with who was on that side of Berg. He was linking up quite well with Bergvall and Spence down that side, and I thought we were getting quite a bit of joy there. But ultimately, he kind of didn't get the goal contribution, wasn't effective enough, and had to be taken off. But I thought it was a lot better than what we've seen previously, and hopefully he starts to build on that.
Yeah. Let's move on to Dom Solanke. 5s all round for Big Dom. Look, definitely worked hard, as he always does, but the game and what people are going to go back to, and rightly so, are the big chances that he missed. And he missed 2 big chances on the day, and he's got to put at least one of them away. If he puts us 1-0 up in that moment of the game, we could have gone on to win the game or definitely draw the game. So unfortunately, the game for Spurs did hinge on kind of 2 moments. It was Romero coming off and also him missing those big chances. And he's got to be way more clinical than he is. Chances aren't coming his way on a regularity, and when they do, he's got to put them in the back of the net. Yeah,
and I'm sorry, the chance he missed was not good enough. I think he didn't kind of hold the ball up as well as he could have, as well as he has done in previous games. So that was a bit disappointing. But I think when it comes to Dom, he was in the box in that second half and he was getting some opportunities, and that's what you need him to do. But he's got to be way more clinical. He's got to be putting that volley away. He had a really good chance right at the end of the game as well, which Leno saved. And I think he also could have found Maddison, or I think it was Scarlett running at the back post. 2 of them there, he could have found them, but he went for the shot, which is fine, but he's got to be burying it. And in the end of the day, Leno was able to hang on to it, at least get him to tip it wide or something. I have to say with Solanke, his finishing has been a bit of a disappointment since he's come here. As much as I know when we're comparing him to, let's be honest, at this football club in Kane and Son, we've had some of the best finishers the Premier League has ever seen, especially statistically, that seems to be the case. So we're used to seeing unbelievable finishing, and maybe we're holding him to a higher standard, but it's also not fair or not unfair to say that we haven't really seen too many really good finishes from him, especially in good positions. I probably count on a few, definitely on one hand, because he probably only scored 7 goals this season, but I can't remember, apart from a few tap-ins, like there's not been many goals where you think, oh, that's a really good finish. Maybe the lob get the chip against Villa. Very few have been like ones where you don't expect him to score kind of thing.
But kind of we knew that before he came in, though.
Yeah, it's true, but I still expected a few more of them than we've seen, and we haven't seen very few at all.
As well, you gotta say that we haven't provided him with enough service as well.
It's true, but he's underperforming his XG, and
Yeah.
that, he shouldn't be.
Yeah. Let's go over to the substitute, Sonny, who came on at half-time. 6s all round for Sonny. The intensity of the game and the Spurs team definitely went up when Sonny came on the pitch, in my opinion. He was kind of putting in cross after cross after cross, trying to force something to happen, created openings for Dom Solanke, but unfortunately nothing came from his good work. But I definitely thought it was a good cameo.
Yeah, I think he looked bright. We looked a lot more dangerous when he was there, and I thought it didn't. I think he created a few opportunities as well, created a few openings, and I thought he made a real difference in that second half. But it wasn't enough in the end. But definitely looked better with him and Tell on the wings than we did with Johnson there. So positive change, and I thought he positively impacted the game, but unfortunately it wasn't enough.
Yeah. Bergvall up next. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Again, the teenager comes on and makes an instant impact. He drives the team forward, always asking for the ball, always looking to move the ball quickly as well. Creative as well. Laid one on for Dom Solanke at one point in the game. And he's just so aggressive in the middle of the park as well, basically showing Bentancur and Bissouma how to do it.
Yeah, unlucky not to win a penalty, I felt as well at 1-0. I think it was at 1-0. Could have made it 1-0. I think Bassi was a bit lucky to avoid that because Bergvall definitely does win the ball ahead of him. But VAR didn't see enough to overturn the decision. But I think, again, that penalty was, again, kind of symptomatic of what he brings to the game, that drive, that willingness to take people on, and that ability to get around people and not be scared and be fearless. And that's what you need with someone in the middle of the park, and also putting a few really good challenges as well. Don't think he covered himself with much glory with the goal we conceded, though, kind of hanging behind Muniz, and maybe could have put a challenge in there if he was being sharp enough and on his game. But I think on the ball, fantastic, and really gave us a bit of momentum to drive forward, and the game really changed when he came on.
Maddison up next. 6s all round for Maddis. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I really remember him doing is creating that chance for Solanke. Apart from that, I don't think he did much in the game, to be fair. But, all you can ask him to do is come on and create a chance, and that's what he did.
Yeah, I think he looked bright, but again, without really doing much, to be honest. I think it just gave us a bit more of an impetus when he was on the pitch. He was able to link up with the likes of Bergvall and Son, and we just looked a bit more creative and progressive with him on the pitch. But yeah, he had that chance and couldn't. Obviously, we conceded quite soon after that, so then the momentum got away from us.
And last but not least, in terms of playing staff, we're going to rate Wilson Odobert on the back of his brilliant performance in Europe. Unfortunately, Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. Probably a 3 as a fairer reflection, to be honest, because you can't lose the ball in that area of the pitch. He opened up the game for Fulham, terrible, and I felt like every time he got on the ball, he pretty much gave it away.
Yeah, I had a bit of sympathy for him for that mistake, but at the end of the day, he did have 3 men around him. He needs help from his teammates, but I feel like if in doubt, you just get rid. You go long. He didn't. Maybe that's instruction. So maybe you got to put some of that blame on the manager if feels like he shouldn't go safety first on those kind of occasions. But it was really poor from him to just dribble his way into trouble. He's got 3 men on him, and he should be getting away from that situation. And then on the ball, didn't really do much. I thought Robinson easily dealt with him on that right hand side, and yeah, unfortunately didn't get any joy.
The stat is he made 5 touches on the ball and he lost the ball 3 times.
Oh, there you go.
So that's it with Odobert. And let's finish off talking about the manager, Ange Postecoglou. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought poor team selection. I understood that he needs to rotate. I did understand that, I understand playing Brennan Johnson, Tell on the wings. I had no problem with that. Even though Johnson's putting in stinker after stinker at the moment, I understand why he plays him, but you've got to have a creative player in the middle of the park, particularly with the way Ange Postecoglou likes to play. You have to have some sort of creativity in the middle, and we didn't have that. He recognised that at half-time, made changes, brought Bergvall on, brought Son on. It got a lot better, so credit to him for making the right changes at half-time. And then he takes off Romero and brings on Maddison and drops Archie Gray into the defence, which I thought pretty much swung the game in Fulham's favour. And I just don't understand, if Van der Ven's on the bench, why not bring him on for the last half an hour to keep that solidity at the back? Because the defence looked really strong up until that moment. And Romero was having a blinding game, and he takes him off and puts Archie Gray at the back, and we go and concede 2 goals.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what cost us at the end of the day, not having really one of those centre-backs on the pitch. When we saw the difference when we had them on, we didn't really concede too many chances. We were actually pretty comfortable going the other way, but unfortunately, as soon as they went off, Fulham started to get some joy. I felt at half-time, we had it at 0-0. I think 0-0 was probably a fair result at that point, to be honest. And then made some changes. We got in the ascendancy. We could have scored once or twice. And you're thinking, okay, this is going to plan at the moment. But as soon as Romero got taken off, I agree. The momentum swung. Muniz was getting all sorts of joy. And all of a sudden, Fulham got the momentum, and they got the couple goals. So very, very disappointing. The way we rotated, I'm not too unhappy about. Just, I completely agree. Bergvall and Maddison, you have to see one of them in on the pitch, to be honest, if we had a way of playing through them, and that was exactly what was proven kind of in that second half. I understand as well, we a lot of these players he rotated, we're going to need them between now and the end of the season as well. They're going to need them to come in to play Premier League games. We're going to need them to get up to speed, so you can't just leave them out in the cold. But I think it was really disappointing not seeing Maddison or Bergvall from the start. And I don't understand the thinking of having Van der Ven on the bench if he's not coming on with 20 minutes to go, if you need to take off Romero. I understand if you feel the need to manage Romero's minutes. If that's where he's at, then that's fair enough. I'm pretty sure if he could play 90, he would have played him 90.
He's going to play lots of 90 minutes for Argentina now, though.
Might do, but then, he was playing with a problem for Tottenham last time, and then he played for Argentina and got taken off at 45 on both times. So that might happen as well. But yeah, if you need to manage Romero's minutes, then so be it. But 20 minutes of Van der Ven, I would be surprised if he couldn't manage that. But maybe you just felt like it wasn't worth the risk. But I don't know. I just felt it was an odd decision.
So that is our player rating from the 2-0 loss at